Mr. Fantastic has arrived, and he is a hybrid duelist with an insane amount of sustain, and I guarantee almost everyone will play him wrong. My name is Kodiak, this is Legacy Gaming, and here's how you can master the newest hero in Marvel Rivals, Reed Richards, also known as Mr. Fantastic. If you didn't already know, our team has released 2 comprehensive videos sharing competitive tips for mastering all of the Vanguard and Strategist heroes. But as new heroes get released, we're going to dive into them individually, because with each new character comes entirely new movesets and techniques that you can use in a match. We were lucky enough to play Mr. Fantastic a few days ahead of the official Season 1 launch, and we wanted to make sure you got off to a fast start. As I said in the intro, Mr. Fantastic is a duelist, but he's one of the first duelist Vanguard hybrids with plenty of offensive potential, but also some solid defensive capabilities that ensure his survival as well as his team's. His primary attack is called Stretch Punch. Using his elastic power, he stretches out his arm for a punch, and while this is incredibly slow, there's something special about the attack. You can actually sweep your cursor back and forth as you're attacking, dealing damage to multiple enemies, while also not needing to be pinpoint accurate. This effectively allows you to double or even triple your damage output with a single attack by hitting multiple enemies. His secondary attack is called Distended Grip. This allows him to extend his arms forward, trapping an enemy hero if hit. You can then choose to either pull that individual hero towards Mr. Fantastic, or try and hit another enemy hero and then yank those two together, knocking them airborne. There's 2 things to really consider here. First is that this grab has enormous disruptive potential. Not only can you temporarily take one enemy hero out of the equation for a few seconds, but you can potentially take 2 out of the mix. It's crowd control unlike any other in the game currently. Most players will use it to simply disrupt, but competitive players will see another opportunity with Distended Grip: Entrapment. You can use this ability on escaping enemies to yank them back towards the group, negating their escape attempts and often setting up a quick and clean kill. The truly great players, and I am not claiming to be one, will find a way to use this grip to pull enemies into a friendly ultimate, most likely killing them in the process. Think of the Mr. Fantastic Moon Knight combo potential. It's wild. Now on paper, Mr. Fantastic's mobility isn't great, but that's only until you learn how to use his next ability, Flexible Elongation. This skill has 2 charges and allows you to select a target and pull Mr. Fantastic to them, gaining a shield in the process and dealing damage to the enemy you're attacking. The kicker here is you can actually use this on allies as well, making Mr. Fantastic one of the best help defenders in the entire game. Say your strategists are getting dived. You can turn around and quickly dash to them. Not only are you now right in the face of the enemy attacking your team, but you and the ally you just dashed to have a shield. That is wild, and puts Mr. Fantastic in a position unlike any other hero in the game, one that has incredible offensive power, but can also protect his team. His final active ability is called Reflexive Rubber, and I don't know guys, I think this is going to get adjusted because my goodness, is it incredible. For a short period of time, Mr. Fantastic is completely immune to damage, and can negate most, if not all, of the ultimates in the game. Any damage he takes is absorbed, and after a few seconds, he'll shoot out a burst of energy as a projectile that deals damage appropriate to the amount sustained during the Reflexive Rubber period. This does also cap out at an upper limit, meaning this can't turn enemy ultimates into one-shot returns. Even still, this is a game changer for Mr. Fantastic, and one of the best defensive abilities currently in the game. You quite literally make yourself a bigger target, take no damage during that time, and because less skilled players will continue attacking you, get a free offensive ability at the end of this ability's duration. Now before we talk about Mr. Fantastic's ultimate, I also want to touch on his passive Elastic Strength. As you're using all of your abilities, a meter in the center of your screen will fill up. Once this reaches 100, you'll become inflated, turning into a much larger version of the character, gaining a massive shield and increased damage in the process. During this period, you attack similar to the Hulk, punching and slapping enemies around, while also being a massive damage sponge thanks to a new shield. This is your opportunity to bully squishy enemies or push an objective, but as always, you don't want to overextend, partially because once in this form, you lose access to your other abilities. You can't expect most pickup healers to treat you like a Vanguard, but the good ones will watch for you when you're in this inflated state and let you run roughshod because, again, your hybrid role is changing the dynamic mid-match, which can absolutely throw off the enemy team. Finally, there's Mr. Fantastic's ultimate Brainiac Bounce. This is a series of up to 6 leaping slams that deals damage and slows enemies hit within the radius. Unlike most other ults, you're actually rewarded for being accurate. Each hit enables another jump, up to 6, and you'll want to obviously maximize that so you're dealing the most amount of damage while also slowing down enemies. This skill can be a bit hard to control, and you'll want to use your WASD or left stick to really pull Mr. Fantastic in the direction of your next projected jump as you're impacting the ground, while also using your cursor to aim. It takes a little practice, but once you get the hang of it, this really becomes a potent and easy to control ultimate. It's also important to note that it does seem to have a quite generous vertical damage AoE, allowing you to hit most targets a level below you or even a bit above your impact zone. Also, depending on how confined the space is when using your ultimate, bouncing off the ceiling can actually speed up the ultimate's attack cadence, making this a menace indoors. I also want to quickly touch on his team-up ability, Wedded Harmony, which you have to imagine will be available in almost every match during the start of Season 1, where Mr. Fantastic and Invisible Woman will be heavily played. So long as Sue Storm is on your team, you can tap into another active defensive ability. When used, Mr. Fantastic gains a shield that continues to grow over the duration of the ability, making up for lost health in the process. Simple, effective, and something that should be used constantly when fighting alongside the Invisible Woman. With an understanding of his kit, I want to turn now and talk about some actual match strategies. It's one thing to understand the moves, but it's another thing entirely to execute during a match. One mistake players are going to make right out of the gate is assuming you're invulnerable. You're playing a new hero. It's got that new car smell, but Mr. Fantastic is a duelist, which means he's squishier than a Vanguard, at least to start. Those initial engagements are going to be the most deadly, because until you're up in the enemy's team's face, you really can't do much. You can poke with your primary attack or potentially get a grab, but that will only take you so far, and smart ranged players will keep you at an extreme distance to negate your kit. When the time is right, you can use flexible elongation to pull yourself into the fray. Because you have 2 charges, you still have the ability to escape by using it again on an ally on the outer edge of the action. Remember, you get shielded every time you use this ability, so it's best as an engagement tool or even mid-fight to regain that shield, providing you with some sustain. Of course, you have to be cautious. Don't just aimlessly dive into an enemy team. You're gonna die. It's a balance, because if you don't save a charge and you get low, there's nothing you can do to quickly remove yourself from a fight. As with most duelists, one thing you have to be on alert for are ultimates. At the moment, Reflexive Rubber is one of the best defenses in the game, completely negating those ultimates that often cause the most disruption. Think Jeff or Wanda. It's broken, but only if you're ready to react to the enemy team. It's important to note that while in your inflated state, you can't use other abilities, but you can cancel your inflated state early, and you'll need to do that if an enemy ultimate comes in during that time, because inflated won't save you from a one-shot, but Reflexive Rubber will. Finally, remember, you are a hybrid, and specifically, one of the best at getting back to your strategists and protecting them from divers. Your dash gives your allies a shield, and your Distended Grip keeps enemies from running off. If you master that combination, you will excel at Mr. Fantastic. It's just that simple. Think of it like a double team in any sport. 1v1, it's all about individual skill, but change that dynamic to 2v1, and it's less about skill, more about overwhelming force. And that's a dynamic Mr. Fantastic can tap into regularly. So there you have it, everything you need to know to master Mr. Fantastic. We'll continue this series with the Invisible Woman and eventually Human Torch and the Thing when they become available, but we need your help. If you like this content and you want more Marvel Rivals in your feed, hit that thumbs up and consider subscribing. My name is Kodiak, and from everyone here at Legacy Gaming, thanks for watching and play on.